Welcome, everyone. It is now 7:01, and I'm calling to order the regular Board of Education meeting for Indian Prairie School District 204 on Monday, November 21st, 2022. Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Karubis.
Here.
Mr. Rising.
Here.
Ms. Deming.
Present.
Ms. Grover. Here. Ms. Donahue.
Here.
Ms. Jane.
Here.
And Ms. Fosdick.
Here.
We have a quorum. Ms. Fosdick, will you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our next, our next regular board meeting will be held on Monday, December 5th. We have several board salutes today. Mr. Rising.
Yes, District 204 students to appear in the Paramount Theater Sound of Music. The board salutes Springbrook Elementary School second grader Emerson Chan and Waubonsie Valley freshman Juliana Filipek for their upcoming appearances in the Paramount Theater's The Sound of Music. Julia will be performing as Louisa Von Trapp, while Emerson Chan will be performing as the youngest Von Trapp, Gretel. Paramount Sound of Music will run through July 15th, 2023. Congratulations to both Emerson and Juliana on this significant accomplishment. Break a leg, and I will see you on Saturday because I'm going to see you. Going to see you. Congratulations.
Ms. Deming.
I will look forward to seeing them. I'm going on Friday evening, so that will be a pleasure. Waubonsie Valley seniors achieve rank of Eagle Scout. The board salutes Waubonsie Valley seniors Gavin Smith and Lucas Matthews for achieving the rank of Eagle Scout, the highest advancement rank in scouting. Gavin's Eagle Scout project included building and installing benches in front of the Village Baptist Church. Chicken coops were constructed for Phillips Park Zoo by Lucas for his Eagle Scout service project. Congratulations to Gavin and Lucas on achieving the prestigious rank of Eagle Scout.
Mm-hmm. Ms. Fosdick.
The board salutes 6 District 204 parent-teacher associations for receiving $1,000 grant awards from the National Parent-Teacher Association to carry out programs in their schools and communities. Longwood Elementary School received a Family Reading Experience grant sponsored by Office Depot and Office Max. Kendall Elementary School received a STEM and Family Science Festival grant sponsored by the Bayer Fund. Owen Elementary School received the Smart Talk grant sponsored by Norton. Georgetown and White Eagle Elementary Schools received a Be Internet Awesome grant sponsored by Google and YouTube. And the Mattia Valley High School Parent-Teacher Student Association received a Tobacco Prevention Campaign grant sponsored by the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. Congratulations to all of the parent-teacher associations for their hard work, effort, and determination in securing these grant awards.
Ms. Jane.
District 204 Instructional Specialist receives Certified Education Technology Leader credential. The board salutes District 204 Instructional Specialist Andrew Fiquette for receiving the Certified Education Technology Leader credential from the Consortium for School Networking. The program is the only accredited practice-based program available to education technology leaders that bridges technical knowledge, understanding of the educational environment, leadership and vision, and the management of technology and support resources needed to integrate technology across the curriculum to advance student outcomes. The Certified Education Technology Leader credential is a true measure of today's technology leaders, identifying those who have mastered the framework skills and knowledge needed to bridge 21st century skills to our schools. Congratulations, Andy, on receiving this noteworthy certification.
Ms. Grover.
District 204 students receive National Student Production Award. The board salutes Mattia Valley Jr., Ani Apresian, and seniors Roshni Ashrit, Zara Salim, and Aloran Lane for winning first place from the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences for the Maine. The Maine is now the #1 high school television magazine program in the country, according to the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Congratulations on the stellar achievement.
Really amazing accomplishment, so thank you. Next up is our student representative report from Kushi Fashanu from Neuqua Valley High School.
Hello and good evening.
Is it on?
There it is. Sorry. Hello and good evening. My name is Kushi Vaishnav, and it is my pleasure to represent Neuqua here tonight. It's been a busy few weeks for Neuqua athletics. Varsity football saw an end to their season in the round of 16 against Lincoln Way West. The boys cross-country team took 12th at their state competition, and the girls cross-country team, girls swimming, and girls tennis teams all had strong ends to their seasons, with members of each team competing at their state tournaments. As we wrap up the fall season, Wildcats are starting to train for gymnastics, wrestling, and other winter sports. We can't wait to see what new heights you'll reach this season. 10 Neuqua seniors also signed their national letters of intent on November 9th, demonstrating their dedication to continue playing their sport at the collegiate level. Congratulations on all your hard work paying off. We've also seen the beginning of the math, chess, and speech team seasons, and they've already accomplished so much. The chess team made history with a close victory against rival team Stevenson. Additionally, the speech team has taken home nearly 70 individual awards in the past 3 weeks. Keep going, Wildcats. We're excited to see all of your achievements over the rest of your season. On November 28th, tickets will go on sale for the Spring Fling, a new dance that students approached administration about. Alongside administration, the student leadership is hard at work to sell 1,250 tickets. If we do, the dance will proceed as scheduled. The Neuqua Theater program showed off the culmination of all their hard work in the fall play titled She Kills Monsters. It ran from November 10th to November 12th and received rave reviews. We are all excited to support the theater program in their winter play, Doubt a Parable. Currently, the Student Council has just kicked off their annual Holiday 204 drive, where anyone has the opportunity to donate. All proceeds go to the IPEF Kids Essential Fund. It's so inspiring to see Wildcats working hard to make an impact on their society and spread joy in our community. Teachers and parents alike are in the midst of parent-teacher conferences, which were held on November 17th and November 21st. Both groups are working hard to make sure our students are as successful as possible. On December 1st and December 2nd, Neuqua's annual Crystal Concerts will be held. Our stellar music program has been practicing for months to bring us this beautiful performance. We can't wait to appreciate all the hard work you've been putting in. The week of December 5th, more than 70 career guests will visit Neuqua to help our students learn more about their own interests and talents. Wildcats will have a chance to speak directly to working members of our community about their careers and their journeys. Also in December, the administration will begin the process of acclimating the class of 2027 to high school before they enter their freshman year next August. After winter break, Neuqua will reinstate Access, the Wildcat version of student academic guidance, allowing students to get the help they need. A little over a month away from final exams, students and administrations alike are working hard to ensure that exams aren't too stressful. Keep working hard, Wildcats, and we know you'll succeed. It's been a pleasure speaking to you all tonight. Thank you for listening, and as always, go Wildcats.
Thank you, Kushi. A lot going on in the school, so thank you. It is now time for public comment, and 60 minutes is allowed for public comment. Each person is limited to 3 minutes. When addressing the board, we ask that you respect the confidentiality and safety of our students and school district personnel. We also ask that those addressing the board be cognizant that this is an open meeting and is available to all age groups, and as such, we ask that you consider who the audience members are this evening and keep comments age appropriate. Public comment represents the voice and opinion of the speaker. There will be no feedback from the board members during the meeting, but follow-up will be provided by an administrator as appropriate. Although this is not required, it is helpful for the board to know whether the comments and concerns we hear are being raised by residents. So we ask that you state if you live in the district and if you currently have children in our schools. So we have 3 speakers tonight. The first speaker is Kristen Roche.
Hello again. My name is Kristen Roche. I spoke at the last meeting regarding an incident that occurred with my son, who on the second day of kindergarten was able to leave the building undetected and walk all the way home in the middle of the day. I am a current member of our PTA and our elementary school's parent safety group. At 2 separate meetings through these organizations, it was stated to the group of parents in attendance by 2 administrators that the exterior doors, except for the main entrance of the elementary schools in our district, are not monitored and are often vulnerable as the doors are not always engaged. That means they appear to be closed and locked, but they can be opened from the outside and are in fact not locked. They followed this by stating that they walk around during the day and pull them shut to hear a click. Then they followed again by stating that the #1 deterrent to a school shooter is a locked door. Not engaged means not locked. There are also no alerts on these doors. So what is to stop a student from opening a door for a stranger or someone they know? No one would be the wiser. The primary role of the district is and should be to help keep students and teachers safe. District 204 has received countless awards and accolades. When NEQA was built, it was the national example and standard of excellence. Our district is known for implementing the most cutting-edge technologies and setting the national standard. We have a history of being a leader in both here in Illinois and across the country. Why not be the national leader and example as it relates to building security and monitoring? As I understand from October 17th board meeting, the district is in the process of hiring a company to perform a comprehensive assessment of all schools in our district. That is great. What isn't great was listening to the board members' comment, and I quote, "I'm so excited for new playgrounds." And I quote, "I'm so happy we can finally talk aesthetics." Yes, I think new playgrounds are great, and who doesn't appreciate a flower bed? Only one board member commented on the importance of paying attention to our school safety. As traumatic as this event was for my family, I believe that one positive outcome could be this opportunity for this school board. You have the chance change needs to happen in District 204, and you know it, and I know it, and everybody knows it. You and Dr. Talley have that power.
Thank you. The next speaker is Alicia Smith.
Hello, my name is Alicia Smith. My family moved to District 204 in 1988 when I was in 5th grade. My sister and I were 10 months apart, and between the 2 of us, we attended Georgetown, McCarty, Gregory, and Wabanzi. About 13 years ago, I bought a house around the corner from my parents. My sister and her husband moved in shortly thereafter, and they had 3 kids who now attend Gombert Elementary School. I also have worked in the district. I've been a teacher this is my 23rd year. The only school I have not worked in that was not a title school was Kendall Elementary School. I worked there for 7 years. Then I requested to be transferred to a title school, and I was transferred to Georgetown. When I started teaching at Georgetown, I remember being very saddened because the academic success there was not what it had been when I was a child. And it made me sad to think that District 204 was going backwards in providing education for some of our most marginalized students. After I had worked at Georgetown for 6 years, I found out that 203's Administration and School Board was making a commitment to lower the achievement gap. They thought I was a good fit, and so I left 204 to go work at 203. I went from the school in 204 with the largest percentage of low-income students, Georgetown, which has 57% of low-income students, to the school in 203, which has the largest percentage of low-income students, Scott School, which has 30% low-income students, almost half of what Georgetown has. But 204 only has total the percentage of 18% low-income students, and 203 only has total 15% low-income students as a district. There's really no comparison to Scott and to Georgetown. And it's the responsibility of the administration, the school board, to have equitable and balanced schools. Lowering the achievement gap is not going to come through after-school programs or trying to eliminate chronic absenteeism, especially when you have an inequitable busing policy. We should be making sure that our schools are equitable and balanced, because if you all don't do that, our teachers and our staff don't have a chance, let alone the students and the families. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Veronica Andre.
Hi, I'm Veronica Andrade. Good evening. I am entering my 6th year as a Gombert parent with a 3rd grade gator and 2 1st grade gators. The twins preschool teacher at the PCP once told me, "I am my child's first teacher and biggest advocate. Never stop advocating for your child." In August, before you stood, current and former Gombert parents with current Gators and incoming Falcons were advocating for their students to urge this board and district to reinstate bus service for Fisher students who live in the Gombert attendance area. We did our research, citing safety hazards, decision-making maturity, and expert knowledge of road conditions from living within the community for many years. Despite presenting this information, our concerns were dismissed, and we were offered the single argument that our students, we do not meet the 1.5-mile distance requirement or hazard rating. Please stop looking at our families from how we look to you on a Google map. We live in these communities, and after years of living in these communities, we are the experts on the safety conditions, not an IDOT hazard rating system, especially not one system that the district doesn't apply equally to other school communities within the district. I encourage this board and superintendent to, instead of making it harder on us parents to make sure our students get to school, to make it easier. As a community, we are supposed to help each other, not make it harder for parents to get their students out the door, harder for the parents to get to work on time, harder for them to find safe transportations for their students to school. Parents worry enough about their students to have the additional worry of, did my child make it to school safely and on time? To put unnecessary stress on your families is not empathetic or caring or showing kindness, and is most definitely not the Gator way. Some of the board members present, along with Dr. Talley, visited Gombert Elementary for our Veterans Day Assembly. You were surrounded by a student population who are experts in showing empathy and kindness, from the littlest Gator to the oldest. That is reflective of the families that they are a part of. It is not easy, and by taking away bus service for our middle schoolers, it makes it harder on us, on our families. Please listen to our concerns and make decisions for our community that doesn't add stress and hardship. We will continue to voice these concerns because we are our students' biggest advocate. I urge this decision-making body to support our families by providing bus service to our students so we can continue to support them on their journey of academic excellence. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move to our consent agenda and superintendent report. We will start with the superintendent report. Dr. Talley.
Thank you, Ms. Donahue, members of the Board of Education and the Indian Prairie community. First, I want to let everyone know that there is a Parent Academy scheduled for Monday, November 28th. The topic is navigating peer relationships and conflicts. This academy will be held virtually starting at 7 p.m., and you can find more information on our website. Second, I want to use my comments tonight to talk about transportation. More specifically, I want to talk about how decisions are made regarding providing or not providing buses. It has been applied that decisions about busing is somewhat capricious in nature and not given out equitably. That is not true, nor is it factual. Transportation decisions are first made by looking at the distance a child is from a school. The rule in the state of Illinois is that if a child lives more than 1.5 miles from the school, transportation will be provided. The 1.5-mile rule is for all grade levels. If a child lives less than 1.5 miles, then it is necessary to determine if a hazard exists from the child's home to the school. Hazards are identified using instructions from the Illinois Department of Transportation Pedestrian Safety Engineering team and could include, but not limited to, the following: not having a sidewalk, walking on a roadway, crossing railroad tracks, the speed of traffic on a road above a certain level, or the amount of traffic on a road above a certain level. Our Director of Support Operations, Mr. Ron Johnson, conducts a study to determine if a hazard does exist. A study can take 2 to 4 months of time because of how much that is being done, to include doing a speed check on the road, measuring the width of the road, determining if sidewalks exist, counting cars over an extended period of time, along with his other daily duties for transportation and food services. There are areas across the district where transportation is not provided because there is no documented hazard. Some areas which do have transportation have a documented hazard. Some hazards were determined years ago, and the district is in the process of reviewing each of those hazards. It does take time to review, as I mentioned. Schools such as McCarty, Longwood, Gombert, and Georgetown do have bus routes. Some children who attend those schools are bused to their schools. Some of those same students are bused to their secondary schools. These schools, though, also have many families that live less than 1.5 miles from the school without a documented hazard, similar to what you would find at Clough and Graham, with families walking to school. Mr. Johnson has spent the last several years going through the hazard designation to review the hazards, and if warranted, eliminating the buses where the hazards no longer exist. This process of review takes time, but it is being done across the whole system. He has had to clean up some things that have existed for years without proper documentation. He's very careful in the process to ensure accuracy and the documentation is kept. Eventually, all reviews will be completed with all routes assigned according to the requirements established by the state. The process is equitable because the same process is being used in all areas. One cannot say unilaterally that children in one part of our district receive buses and some do not. Each situation is different and unique. What can be said, as I said earlier, is that we continue to examine on a case-by-case basis transportation needs, and the same process is used with each review. Decisions are made by the requirements of the Illinois Department of Transportation Pedestrian Safety Engineering Team. We are equitable because we are relying upon the process. I understand that as parents, one's emotions are interwoven with the decisions that are made, that one may want. That is why we use the process. I do thank Mr. Johnson and his transportation coordinator, Ms. Alicia Clayton, for the work they do daily, ensuring that our children arrive to school and are taken home safely. And as this is our meeting before Thanksgiving, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. We now move to our consent agenda items. I need a motion and a second for consent agenda items D through F.
Make a motion to approve consent agenda items D through F as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Michelle, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Rising.
Yes.
Ms. Deming.
Aye.
Ms. Fosdick.
Yes.
Ms. Jane.
Yes.
Mr. Karubas.
Yes.
Ms. Grover. And Ms. Donahue.
Yes. The motion passes. Next, we move to our action items. I need a motion and a second to approve the school calendar for the 2023-2024 school year as presented.
I move that the Board of Education approve the school calendar for 2023-2024 school year as presented.
I second.
Mr. Hillman.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education and Dr. Talley. In accordance with Board Policy 620, tonight you are asked to approve the calendar for the 2023-2024 school year. Prior to presenting you with a calendar to approve, the District 204 Calendar Committee, comprised of IPEA members and central office administrators, meets to discuss the best options, taking into consideration the guiding ideals and feedback from a variety of stakeholders. Once the committee has developed 2 options for consideration, the Board of Education then is able to provide feedback to the calendar committee. Changes are made if necessary, and the staff of District 204 are then surveyed on the calendar option that they would most prefer. The results are then used to make the recommendation that you have tonight. Based on the results of the survey, the administration is recommending that the Board of Education approve calendar option A. If approved by the board, the first day for teachers would be August 21st, and the first day for students would be August 24th. The last scheduled day for students would be May 31st, and for teachers, June 3rd, barring any use of emergency days, which are still required to be included in the calendar by state law. At this time, I would be happy to entertain any questions that the board may have, and then I would ask that the board take action to determine the calendar for the 23-24 school year.
All right, I'm just going to open this up to the board for questions. Are there any questions?
Brad, when you talked to, that meeting that you talked to IPPC, the PTAs, was it option A, refresh my memory, was it option A that they were leaning towards?
They were looking at the value of both calendars.
Right.
And I think that if I recall correctly, they liked the one that had 2 days of student attendance in the first week, so that would be calendar option A.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure, because I know there was a large consensus, and there was PTA members from every school in the district that day. And it's good to see that staff as well chose or preferred option A. Yeah, and in fact, in all categories, our high school staff, middle school, elementary, early childhood steps. So that was good to see. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Hellman, for the benefit of the community, would you mind explaining, even though it's noted here, the planned one e-learning day on election day?
Sure.
Thanks.
So according to Illinois state law, we are able to utilize an e-learning day on days where we have our schools, even if it's just one of them, is used as a place of polling. And in this particular calendar, we will have the elections that are taking place in the spring, and we will be able to use e-learning as a day for that particular school day. So no students will be in attendance. It will count as a day of student attendance, though, and we will be following a synchronous day of instruction, following the e-learning plan that I believe is being worked on.
Great, thank you.
So you went through a very robust process, like other years, to define the calendar and surveyed a wide set of, for a wide set of input. So I think you did a very thorough job, and it's time to vote. So Michelle, will you please take the roll?
Ms. Grover,
Yes.
Ms. Fosdick,
Yes.
Mr. Karubis,
Yes.
Mr. Rising,
Yes.
Ms. Demming,
Aye.
Ms. Donahue,
Yes,
and Ms. Jane.
Yes.
the motion passes. Okay. We will now have a presentation from Mr. Mike Purcell and Mr. Doug Icarius regarding the high school social studies course approval.
I'll help I can get. Hello, good evening. Dr. Talley and the Board of Education, thank you for the time tonight to talk about some exciting work we've been doing over the past few years to really look at the offerings that we have for our, we'll talk a little bit about our freshmen and then another course for our upperclassmen in the area of social science. One of the board goals is to look at a 5-year curriculum review cycle, and this is certainly a portion of that. I think you'll be pretty worn out on seeing me at the table here coming up pretty soon here. So this is the first of those, and this is in accordance with Board Policy 640, really to provide you with information regarding proposed courses for the 23-24 school year. And really we're looking at 2 course proposals. One is adjusted offerings in our 9th grade social studies, and then the second is an adjusted delivery system for our AP government courses. This is done highly in conjunction with our high school department chairs, high school department chairs and school administration. As a reminder, thank you. The proposals for courses are made through the sponsoring academic departments at all 3 high schools, and this is certainly a collaborative effort for those department chairs, and really judge these proposals based on the merit of the offerings, the courses themselves, the number of students we would impact, student achievement, and alignment to board goals. The first of these is our grade 9 social studies course. Just as some background information for the board members, there's a lot of requirements. The graduation requirements for social studies are 1.0 credits, which is 2 one-semester classes, or a full year class of grade 9 social studies, 1.0 credits of U.S. history, and 0.5 credits of government, which that course is what we use to cover the state civics requirement. Our current offerings are usually a little out of balance. We have one world geography class, and then 3 at the AP honors level right now, an AP human geography, an AP world history, and an honors world history. So really kind of came together to say, how can we do a couple of things? One was to kind of remediate that imbalance in offerings, and also really looking at, as you know, there has been a rapid increase in the number of state mandates that we are to bring to our students and make sure our offerings. And to give you a little more insight, the things that are coming through, things that we've talked about at this table, like the Teach Act and faith-based offerings and all sorts of different mandates that are coming through, and all very important and really important things for our students to know. And one of the non-negotiables for us and our team was to make sure that all of those are in graduation required classes. We didn't want to have those be just things that we offered in a special class that you may enroll in if you choose to. These we felt compelled to make sure that we created a system where all students would get those, which is part of what's driving some of this work. Let me go back a second. So the proposed offering is to go to a system which would have 2 classes, really looking at human geography as the framework, using the AP Human Geography for our honors AP offering, and then a college prep level human geography class as our college prep class. This mirrors a lot of what you see for grade 9 and almost all other content areas, in science and English for sure, and this was a bit of an outlier in terms of the number of different offerings that we had. In that, what we really want to do is to make sure we have a delivery system for these things that I began to talk about, but really, as we start listening about, there's just quite a bit that we need to make sure all of our students are getting, particularly as they're getting started with us, is there are not only social studies standards for Illinois that are based in what's called the C3 framework, but also the literacy components of state standards, which are from the Common Core. There are literacy in the content areas, social studies and science, and then things around faith-based instruction, really giving some real education, not on indoctrination, but really just informational things in a variety of different faith groups. And then a big piece of what we want to make sure is incorporated in these offerings are the standards around media literacy. And we just know so much about students being able to, at the 9th grade level, at the very base, to be able to go in and say, this is a viable source and this is not a viable source, right? That they can go beyond, what's the first thing that comes up in my Google search, and things like that. And then getting into, as a creator, what are the standards that we need? But those are the things that we build upon in this strand of media literacy. This course has been, the college prep geography course has been needing resource for quite some time. The teachers are doing a real good work of keeping things together with the class they have now, which is, but really needed some new resources anyway. And really looking at a focus on inquiry learning, really asking deep questions and looking at things from multiple perspectives, and increasing the relevance of these offerings. And what you'll see as we move into the themes, we're super excited. We've had the team of teachers in here a couple times to help frame this up so that I can come and talk to you about it. And really came around these 6 themes: culture and globalization, religion and ethnicity, politics, power, and genocide, population and migration, development and agriculture, urbanization and suburbanization. And what you see if you, as you kind of pull this apart, and when the signs are up on the walls around here, is that they really start with who am I, and talking about identity and those things, and then really evolving out into who am I in the world, right? So how do I kind of put myself into the bigger world that's out there, and really getting into those things as we get towards second semester. So we're really excited about these themes and being able to be able to be flexible and stay relevant to students, but also say, now there's, looking at resources that can help us to be flexible as well. If there are things that are coming up in terms of current events, being able to kind of stay current on those inside of those themes. We're really excited about that as an option kind of moving forward. The timeline for this work, as I said, we brought teachers in from each of our 3 high schools, including some our social studies department chairs, some folks that are teaching these classes now, these 9th grade classes now. We have a special education teachers on the team and EL teachers on the team, really looking at this kind of from all perspectives to make sure we're meeting all students' needs. And if when this is brought back for your consideration in December, it is approved, they'll go on to kind of really lock down the curricular outcomes and then the potential resources that would support that work. The timeline that we have now is to get that done in March so that they can, these representatives from each school can bring that back to their professional learning communities between March and May to really do some conversations inside, or what is this going to look like, and really make sure everyone feels good. And then if there needs to be some kind of larger professional learning, to do that through the summer and have students start in August. So we're very excited about this class and what it can do to really be a delivery system for these really important learnings, but also to really the framework of the class being starting with the student and who are they, and then kind of taking a wider look at that. We're very excited about how this is coming together. The second course is more of I would say a repackaging of things that we have now. The AP, Advanced Placement U.S. Government, serves to satisfy our graduation requirement that we spoke of earlier, which is the half a credit of government, the civics requirement. Right now, the way that our AP government offerings are put together is their package. There's a AP U.S. Government and AP Comparative Government. The only way to take either one is to take both over the full year. And there's some merits to that. Academically, we're looking at how that's going to look long term. But for right now, what we want to do is to kind of decouple the AP U.S. government portion of that because there is an appeal from students to take that class. Students have increased background knowledge in that area. It meets the graduation requirement. And we really do think that this is a way for us to increase both access and opportunity for students to take an advanced placement course. We think this will not only appeal to students who have taken a few others, maybe even in social studies, but may likely appeal to students who have taken 0 or 1 or very few. And that's a market that we are definitely trying to continue to look at. How do we enter? So we really feel like this will attract students to take an advanced placement class before they graduate with us, which we're really excited about. And this one's especially exciting to me because it not only meets a graduation requirement for us, but it meets a graduation requirement for almost any school that a kid's going to go to. So we know that's a really transferable thing for our students to be able to take to the college level with that in their pocket. So we are looking at those, pulling that, so we would offer the full year course, which has both the U.S. and the comparative, and offer the 1 semester U.S. class. So give kids some choices on what that looks like, and we think that we are excited what kids will express to us with their choices. The timeline for this work is we're here now. We've been talking about this obviously with our department chairs and our teachers, and bringing this now for your consideration. While the work is important, we have permitted a shorter runway with this because a lot of the AP work is, one, it's already done because they're doing a great job with it now, and 2, it's curriculum kind of developed by an outside provider, so it's our interpretation of it, right? So the other big piece of this, like the human geography classes, I will likely be coming back to you in the spring and looking to identify, or to, at that point, have you review and potentially approve potential resources to help our teachers to do both of those classes. And if approved, students would enroll in have the choice to enroll either the full year or the half year AP U.S. government in this coming spring for next August. As we kind of move forward, The two of these, the request is now just to provide some information for you for questions and have this open for the next few weeks. And then we'll be coming back to you at the December 5th meeting to request approval for these two courses. Upon approval, we would definitely be looking at resources and instructional tools, as I mentioned, likely be coming here for approval on those as well. And then there would be some ongoing professional development and high collaboration with our teachers, and then bringing those back to our teams to get those going. So we are very excited about these two changes. I think this is the beginning of a bigger look into our 5-year cycle and all of our curriculum areas. But this is one we've been talking about for a while, and haven't had a lot of opportunities to come to you and talk about new things in a while. So we're really, really excited. So thanks. I would love if any questions you have, anything we can clarify about these changes that we're talking about.
Ms. Fosdick?
Thank you for this.
You're very welcome.
I'm a social studies enthusiast, so I'm
Me
excited
too.
to see. I did have a concern that I raised earlier about removing AP World History as a potential for freshmen to take. Can you clarify for me whether social science is the only area in which a student can take an AP class freshman year?
I want to get this right. Let me think for a second. It is. You can
general,
take an
it's-
honors class in almost every area, but
Right.
this will be the only one.
This is the only
Yep.
AP option.
Yep.
Right. So we would be, so from my understanding, and I'm saying it's mostly just get it out as clarification, world history, AP World History is 2 college semesters taught as it would be in a college level class.
So my research is that most colleges, the ones that I've looked into, take it as you get 1 semester credit of college. That's typical of most AP classes.
Right.
And that's the same with the AP Human class.
Okay. And are we certain that, or do we have research at some point going forward that would support showing that colleges take equally either one of those?
They do. They're 3 credits, and they're both in social sciences. It's some of them. In some of the schools that we've looked at, and we obviously haven't looked at every school, right? But we did start with some of the ones where our students are most likely to attend, right?
Okay.
It is all of them directly mapped to a course that's there, and meets a graduation requirement.
Okay. You mentioned meeting all students' needs, and I know and respect that you guys are the expert in this field. Your teachers are the experts. You're the ones on the ground. You have the curricular background and knowledge. As a parent, I do have a slight concern about removing the option of AP World History as another option for students that freshman year, students who are really interested in a hyper rigor on day one. Not to suggest that AP Human, as you do these, would not be rigorous as well. But I hesitate to remove options as we want to make sure that we cover the full spread of what our students need. So that's my only hesitation. I would be curious, alumni who have taken those classes, how they would feel about that, whether if it was of value. So like I said, that's my only real hesitation there, and that comes from more of a parent perspective than from a board perspective. But that being said, I know that this is not a decision or a recommendation you have come to lightly and not without research and input. And I respect that. I just wanted to raise that question.
Super viable. I think a couple of things that we really are encouraged by with this change, and all of these are hard, because the hard part is what we're doing is working, right? So it's to make changes like this, it's a lot, right? So, and kids have good experiences. So there's 2 big pieces. One is that, truth be told, not all schools are coming to those mandates with the same philosophy we are, right? And to take some of those things and to try to kind of push them into a class as good as AP World is. I'm a big fan. We were here. It's probably maybe one of the last times I was here talking to you guys was that class. It's not, can't do the same things, right? So, and the other piece that I get challenged with is that the students could then graduate and all of their social science experience would be history experience. And that's a challenge. And I think, and that doesn't mean that
kids that chose that, that would be all that they ever chose, but that if we're going to stay inside of our graduation requirements, so they wouldn't have the rest of the breadth of our social science education. That's another big plus for me, and when we make those recommendations. But yeah, it's hard. I mean, these are things that we've truth be told, been talking about since I started here with our social studies department chair. So this is something, truthfully, probably 6 years in the making, this conversation. So I appreciate your concerns.
Thank you.
Mr. Karubis.
You alluded to it a little bit, that this might be an easier proposal to bring before the board because of its focus in AP nature. And then there was mention of kind of the more global path towards curricular review. Not so much with this offering, but moving forward, I think it would be helpful for us to see where we're at in that process, or where we're at, where this fits into that process. Because I think that'll kind of guide us on this journey. And, if the ultimate goal is graduation, or if it is college credit, I think we need to see like what the whole menu is, or the whole map is, especially if we're adding, modifying, or taking things out. So I think a slide, some report on when we're doing these curricular changes, giving the board, the community, more of the global 30,000-foot view on where we're at, where we plan to be, what's coming next. And it doesn't have to be, with 100% fidelity on that stuff, but what's our roadmap moving forward? I think that would be a great report to get. Otherwise, awesome, great job, thanks.
Thank you.
Do you have a comment? Okay. Ms. Jane.
Thank you, Mr. Purcell.
Thank you.
Just to kind of clarify for myself, when selecting human geography, is there a lot of overlap in the current offerings for ninth graders? Could you explain what consolidating it to human geography would do, and what the cost may be aside from what the options that Ms. Fostick alluded to?
Yeah, so I think simplifying, truth be told, simplifying things brings us more in line with school districts that we would talk about ourselves in the same conversation with. Because we looked at 10 surrounding school districts that we would all say these are folks we compare ourselves to. One of them had a similar structure to us where they had 4 different options. That 7 of them had a similar structure to this where you're going to a college prep or an honors AP. And then 2 of them had actually only one option. So that some of it is the big advantage is really kind of being able to focus our energies on those things that we are saying are important for kids to know, understand, and be able to do, and things like the Teach Act and our faith-based instruction and the mandates around genocides and those kinds of things. The more times you're trying to teach that from like almost kind of different points of view, right? If you're looking at a world history point of view as opposed to a kind of a me and myself and society kind of point of view, it becomes really hard to do all those things with fidelity, right? So some of it was to really start and say, how do we kind of balance these offerings? And the second part is, how do we create a delivery system that allows us to do all of those things? Is that
Yeah,
closer
no,
to- okay.
that's helpful. And so would a course like world history be a course that a student could take outside of ninth grade later?
Absolutely, yeah. So it'll still be in the course book, and I'm not sure I made that very super clear. So it'll still be in the course book. Students can take it in 10th, 11th, or 12th grade as an elective. And many students, truth be told, choose to do that now. That students take somewhere between half and 60% of our kids that take the AP World Class take it as a not ninth grader, right? It's in 10th, 11th, or 12th grade.
You also mentioned that this would assist in providing more resources to our faculty who teach human geography? Is that
Well,
what you meant?
we need to re-resource that class anyway. It's the resources that we're using for the current world geography class are woefully out of date.
Okay.
So we were going to have to do that no matter how we kind of redid that class. I was just kind of giving you a heads up that I'm going to be coming asking for money. Yeah.
And so this restructuring would allow you to focus
So
and
part of
and
the work
revisit
is
that.
we certainly want to put good resources in teachers' hands, right? The most important thing that happens in any of our classrooms to help kids learn is our teachers. What we want to do after we work collaboratively to figure out what is it that we want kids to know, understand, be able to do, is to say, are there some resources out there, whether they be physical or digital, or whether they be really big primary sources or a bundle of kind of what I would call secondary sources that we could use to help teachers to help kids learn, right? And nobody knows what's better to do that than the teachers themselves. So our process really is for all of our curricular areas is to get them down a path of what is it that we want kids to do, right? What are our outcomes? What is the scope and sequence of that? What do we want to do first? What do we want to do after? And then find some resources that can support us to do that. The flip side of that, and other places do this, and is they go out and find a great resource and say, hey, let's teach that. We just don't think that that's the best way. We just know that our teachers are the most important thing. So we get them going down that path first, and then look at resources to support that. And so that's why sometimes they don't come to you guys at the same time, right? Because the curriculum work comes first.
Okay. And last question, with regard to U.S. government, by decoupling it, do you see benefits in terms of offering this course over the summer? Would that make a difference in terms of?
Yeah, so our plan right now is not to offer the AP U.S. government class over the summer. There's some academic and logistical concerns with that, truth be told. One is that our summer school is 6 weeks long, and to do a full college for a 16, 17-year-old to do a full college course in 6 weeks online gets me a little anxious. The second part is they're also taking it over the summer and then taking the exam. The exams are only issued once a year, and they would take that test in May, right? So there's beyond I'm not sure that's enough time to do that class, and it happens in other places, though I'm not sure. It brings me some anxiety to even think about it. The real logistical concern of that is I'm going to learn it and be done with it in July and then not get assessed on it until May. I'm not sure that puts our kids at their best advantage.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ms. Dumming.
Thank you. I didn't have too many questions, but can you walk me through the process a little bit again? So are teachers currently collaborating? Are we looking at this, and you may have stated it, maybe I missed it. Is this for 23, 20?
Yeah, it would be for students to make enrollment choices in January, right, to be enrolled in for next year. So teachers have done just a little bit of work, right, because I can't come without having sort of something to talk about, right? So, and they're way smarter than me. So I bring them together, and we're not very far down the path of doing curriculum work in this, but enough that I could come and have an informed conversation with you in terms of is this something that the board supports before we offer it up to students?
And I know you indicated that, let me ask this. So collaboration is happening now.
Mm-hmm.
Professional conversations and learning around new curricular outcomes, March through May. So the curricular outcomes, they're deciding from now through March, as well as the collaboration, and then the March through May, professional conversations and learning around new curricular outcomes. Can you help me with that a little bit,
Yeah,
please?
great question. Yeah, thank you. So we have a curriculum team that has representatives from each school, but it's not every teacher. This is a class that a lot of students take, right? So a lot of teachers teach. So we have representatives from each of the schools. So then those representatives and their department chairs will be tasked along with myself and our professional learning team, with bringing those things back to the schools. We wanted to do that while the teachers were still here, right? We didn't want them to have to change their summer plans or to show up in August and not really know what was happening. So our plan is to get that work done with enough lead time, so like before spring break, so that we could spend that time between spring break and the end of the school year where teachers are here and they're having their professional learning conversations on Wednesday afternoons and have their time in the office where they can just kind of informally maybe meet and really start saying, hey, these are the units we're doing, and here's some of the model lessons that we have, and here's the resources we have to support that, and those kinds of things. There may be, what comes out of that is that we identify a need that we need to have some really more specific targeted learning around one of these topics that maybe our teachers need to know a little bit more about media literacy to be able to feel comfortable teaching that. It's not something we've done formally a great deal in the past. So maybe we have to bring some support in to help us to do that. So that's some things we would identify during that time, and then either get that going, maybe some things over the summer, or get that going very early next school year so that we can make sure that we're hitting the mark with the things that we want out of this course.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Grover. Hello. So I think one of my concerns with the courses, we went from 4 offerings to 2, but for one, the others were honors or AP. And now with only one AP, I'm wondering if there's going to be an influx of students wanting that AP course, and whether we will be able to give it to all those students who want that AP Human course.
Yeah, any student that signs up for either of these courses, we'll staff it accordingly.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great.
For sure.
Okay, and then slide 9 with the AP Government course. So we offer U.S. Government and AP Comparative Government, and you had to take both, but now you can just take one.
So right now the proposal will be that you can either continue to take both the way it is now, or take just the AP U.S. Government 1 semester, which is the graduation requirement course.
And then what do you usually have then as a second semester? What is like?
So there's all sorts of senior options. There's lots of students who take our consumer economics class, which is also a 1 semester graduation requirement. There's lots of students who do things around interest areas in the business area, or take another English class, or or another. There's lots of different options.
So it doesn't
especially
have to be
for
social
our
studies.
classes. Yeah,
Okay,
correct.
great.
Yeah,
And when you do the AP U.S. Government and the AP Comparative, were we doing 2 AP exams? Because like I know in physics you have 2 separate. So was this 2 separate tests that they were taking?
So it is essentially 2 separate classes that you're co-enrolled in at the same time, right? So they do a nice job of preparing kids for both exams, right? So students take both. So the current offering, and they do a nice job, and kids are very successful, but you can't kind of get at the U.S. class without taking the other one, right? And there's a lot of feedback from our social studies department chairs and our directors of guidance that there's a lot of interest from kids to be able to do that, especially the U.S. class. So trying to pull that out and kind of peel that off as an offering that you could do independently, we think will be very attractive to a big bundle of kids.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying that even though we're going from like 2 classes to 1 class in that sense, it still fulfills a requirement for the AP US test to take that test.
For sure. Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
great. And those are the only questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Rising.
If you go to slide 5. Okay, so I'm just clarifying again. Graduation requirements, 1 credit social studies, 1 credit U.S. history, and a half credit of government by the time you graduate. That's required by the state. Okay.
Actually, those are the Indian Prairie, just as long as we're clarifying, those are the Indian Prairie graduation requirements, which are a half credit more rigorous than the state requirements. State requirements is 2.0 credits to graduate, which must include the 1 year of U.S. history and then a semester of the civics requirement.
Oh,
And the other half a year of social studies in the state is unclassified.
Okay.
Just
So, and then just to reiterate again, AP World History will still be available, just not for freshman year.
Correct.
Okay.
You got it.
Does that, are we going to be sunsetting world geography and honors world history?
So we are replacing world geography with human geography, and then the honors world history will not be in the course book for this year. We look to, when we're able to deliver on Justin's 5-year plan, we will look at we will look at how to repackage that, because there is a need for more social studies electives, but you can't really get at what are those electives until you get the requirements done, and that's why this is our first step. It's all of our 5-year plan, Justin. I'm just kidding.
And so, on the curriculum side, are we going to be updating the curriculum? Obviously, yes, for human geography, because it's a new course.
Yep.
Are we also going to be updating the AP Human as well?
Yeah,
curriculum?
good question. There will be minor adjustments really around those things that are the state mandates that aren't yet embedded in that class. And some of that is fairly recent in terms of what those mandates are. And so we spent time over the summer and then again in the fall trying to figure out sometimes where do those land, right? So where within our graduation requirements do those mandates go? And then had some really great conversations this summer about doing the mandates is good. It's better than not doing them. But then it's also the beginning of the conversation, not the end of it, right? Because we don't want to say, like with the Teach Act, for instance, right, as we look at our Asian American communities, just doing one lesson in our U.S. history class is not our goal. But we have to start by being in compliance, right? And then say, now that we've done that, how do we get really good at this, right? So, and having some delivery systems to allow us to do that is going to be high leverage for that work.
Okay. And then Ms. Grover asked my question. I was absolutely concerned about the staffing because you're going to have now all those kids who previously took AP World History going to take AP Human. And a question I'll probably ask you in upcoming weeks when you get a chance is, I would just like to understand, just from my own personal knowledge, outside of what our IPSD graduation requirements are, how many kids exceed that in the social studies area. If we can pull that information out from our last year's graduates maybe or something like that. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for the study of the curriculum. Changes are always difficult. I think we want to make sure that we always meet the standards and new mandates that have been put in place and fulfill all of those requirements for our mandates as well as for our students' graduation, but also make sure that we have offerings that challenge all of our students and are available to them. So a variety is good. But I understand the changes that you're proposing here, and thank you for working through this. And we will be pursuing a bigger picture of the 5-year plan. So.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Thank you.
As mentioned in the strategic plan, there is work that we are doing regarding sort of our whole curriculum outlook that will be brought forward to the board.
Okay, now it is with pleasure to announce that we will have a presentation by Ms. Kristen Charest and also Eric Prakash from our Student Board Advisory Group.
Yeah, bring your name tag.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
Is it working? Yep.
Thank you for taking this time on not a school night.
No, thank you for having us. This is an amazing opportunity. So I first wanted to start off again by introducing ourselves. I'm Kristen Shea Reyes, a senior from Waubonsie.
I'm Eric Prakash, a junior from Waubonsie.
And us, alongside Lucas Arias and Victoria Vassal, Taylor Pocaspel, and Shloka Sarkar, we make up the Student Advisory Board. So basically, what is the Student Advisory Board? Last year, seniors from 2022, Ayush Gupta and Neha Tokala, selected one senior and one junior from each high school out of 100 students to represent the student voice for the very first time in District 204. There are 2 board members on rotation that assist us alongside Assistant Superintendent Dr. Howard as our main guidance. So again, thank you so much for this opportunity. We usually meet before meetings and discuss issues that happen within our school as well as district-wide. And so far, we've had discussions with students, clubs, principals on basically a monthly basis. And what we do at these meetings itself is we sit on the sides here, we take notes, and we will be representing the student voice by asking questions and having these little inputs. So one of the first things that we've actually done as a student committee is our district student survey. So this was posted on the student splash page in September, and there were over 800 responses from students, and we just kind of wanted to get an arrangement of input from different voices throughout the schools. So again, it's a very, eclectic arrangement of people from different grade levels, ethnicities, and genders, and we really just wanted to get student input on what they think the most pressing issues in the district currently are. So based off of this, one of our main issues that we are targeting is IPSD recycling. So actually last year there was a survey set out by the Waubonsie Valley Environmental Society in which they talked about recycling, and they really believe that it's a super important issue within Waubonsie. There was about 300 students who took this survey, and there was an overwhelming amount of students who want to do something about implementing more recycling within the district. We've also spoken to board members previously, and we know that this has been an issue that has been going on for almost decades within our district and is something we really want to implement within our schools. So in order to do this, we've actually done some waste audits, for example, what is acceptable, what is unacceptable. Our amazing environmental society has gone out of their way to actually take months worth of data on what kind of items are most commonly found in recycling bins, as well as how we can possibly combat this. And based off of this survey, we've got an overwhelming amount of people who say that they would at the very least want to recycle paper. And based off of what is mainly offered at our schools and what is offered as recycling within the nation, paper is the most recyclable item. So that's something that we have for policies. On top of that, we've been discussing with contractors, Mr. Robinson, as well as talking about possible solutions and policies that we could go after. We know policy takes quite a bit to implement, so the Environmental Society has actually been working towards changing student behavior within the schools. And one of the ways that we propose to actually fix this is by offering recycling bins within at least science teachers' rooms, and kind of having this initiative where we can either design our own bins, which we're prototyping some bins with paper-only slots, as well as having some sort of way to advocate for what should go in bins, what should go in bins. We have we're going to reach out to update groups such as Waubonsie Warriors Update, Warrior Nation, stuff like that. And we've also been working with other clubs such as Key Club, as we really want to get students involved in having a hand in recycling within our district. So that's just one of the things that we are currently working on, and I will hand it to Eric for what we are working on next.
So we have many possible district future-wide endeavors that we're planning on. For example, the recent implementation of the new Illinois automatic honors and AP enrollment law. For example, we're seeing how we can ease, if there's any possible way we can ease students into this new mandated enrollment into higher level courses, because that can be jarring for any student regardless of grade level. Another thing that we are working towards and seeing the possibility of is a new system of student feedback for teachers, something that's more direct, something that's a little bit more anonymous and also easier for students to access instead of going to counselors, perhaps a survey or something along those lines. That is something that we as a student board have been looking towards as well. And something that is not possible but will be in the future that we are looking to establish are elections for next year's student board representatives once the seniors have moved on to their lives, their after-school lives. So we're seeing how those go. We're looking at possible ways to implement an actual effective election that doesn't just rely solely on students saying, oh yes, I like this person over another or something along those lines. We're looking for a fair election with students who are actually looking for the betterment of our district and are actually interested in representing the student voices and not just their own. Now here we have a very rudimentary timeline, keep in mind that this is our first year ever doing this. This is the first year that a student board has ever existed in District 204. So a lot of these dates are to be determined. So currently, one of the things that we have planned are a multi-school discussion regarding the recycling plans, because as it stands right now, most of the discussion is going on within Waubonsie. There have been some Metea reach outs, but those have been very sparse. So in the future, around the December date, near the beginning of December, we're going to have to be meeting with all three of the high schools to actually see what high schools have plans already in place, whether there are any overlaps in these plans, and whether there's any way to combine these plans and form a more effective method of recycling. We will also be, I believe it's a student feedback survey implementation. This is very tentative for teachers specifically. This is very tentative. It's not something that is determined, but it's something that around this time frame, if we do decide that as a student board that this is something that is required for students of District 204, this is around the time frame that this would be implemented into our activities. And we will be starting the new student advisory board elections at around, I believe, the mid-January timeframe, because we need to get those elections under place. We need to have enough time for those people to submit their applications, get voted into our final decisions, which will be, I believe, near the beginning of March. And then after that, the selection results, which will be decided by both us and other board members, that will be released near the mid of March. So these are our student advisory board contacts. So if you're a student who wants to implement some change or wants us to represent you during public comment, just feel free to reach out to any of us through our emails. This will be posted up there. And in conclusion, while this may be our first year, the Student Advisory Board is working hard with the goal of bettering the district. And as student representatives, we are excited to implement these changes to make this year a great one. Thank you.
All right, so I would like to open it up to the board for questions and comments. So I'm not going to call on people, but if you would like to ask a question or
I have
comment.
a question for you guys. I was working with the students before even Justin and Allison were, when it was just still a concept. And that was one of the things that I was most worried about the election process is I didn't want it to become a popularity contest. Did I hear, I think I heard you say in the timeline that you just showed that there might be some interview process as well of the top candidates. So the previous board reps would be also interviewing them to make sure you guys are picking the right ones. Is that kind of what I heard? Is that the
Yes,
thought?
currently we're kind of going off of what the seniors last year did, where there's a preliminary survey, but instead of stopping at the survey and picking the top 6, we'll probably do like kind of a rundown. So we'll go survey, then personal interview. We'll probably have like teacher recommendations, that kind of thing, to really understand who these candidates are and make sure that they really want to advocate for our district properly. And from then on, we're still working out the details as to how we can actually get student involvement. It's really something that we've been discussing. Like, I know it'd be a bit hard to get all the students to participate, but at least people who really want to be involved in student voice can vote on us. So we're thinking maybe like we could probably do like assemblies, but again, it's that issue of like we need people to actually be able to listen in order to vote for these candidates, and we don't want it to be a popularity contest. So there will definitely be that first initial screening via the entire board.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
You guys are doing a great job. I really appreciate the work that you've done to get to this point. Because it is new, first time, just embrace that. Know that you're gonna hit some barriers, you're gonna stub your toe every so often, but that's okay. You're building something that's gonna last, that's gonna help the next person. And I think I can speak for all the board members that we're not looking for a result next week on how to solve one particular issue. We're trying to build an effective ramp for student voice. And it's not just your voice, it's the person behind you and the person next to you and the person that doesn't speak up as well. So this is a great goal. It's bigger than all of us, and I appreciate the effort, so thanks.
I just sat here and just smiled continuously while you were speaking. So, so excited to have you guys. You're doing a fantastic job. The intentional intention that you have put into coming up with the areas and understanding what students wanted to hear, and then bringing that, bringing those concerns. It's fantastic because you've done work to understand what your student body feels is important, and you're advocating for that. So, thanks so much. And as Mr. Carubas said, you know, there may be some things that don't go like you thought they would for the first time, but you're doing a fantastic job, and just keep at it. We're happy to have you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good. Oh, that was awesome. You guys came in and totally knocked it out of the park. I'm so impressed by the fact that you came in with no framework, right? You have no example of this. And you guys kind of hit the ground running, did your surveys, collected information. You're already doing self-evaluation, right? Because you see that your primary input right now is from Waubonsie. So you scheduled a multi-school discussion to branch out and make that part of the district. That kind of self-evaluation as you're going along will be so valuable. And the fact that you're already doing it and taking an initiative to do that is just another example of your leadership skills. So thank you very much for bringing those on behalf of your fellow students. I also love that you guys had a timeline in there, right? And as our other board members said, it might get shifted, right? The timeline might change over time, but at least having a framework for where you would like to see it go keeps us all on the same page. So we really appreciate that. Great job. Thank you for being here.
So I want to thank you too. I know you've been to many of the meetings previously, and you carry a huge course load, I'm sure, with all sorts of other activities. So I think that I just want to emphasize how important student voice is for us to hear that. And again, like other board members said, not your voice and your voice, but what you're representing of your school. Like what's important, what are the hot issues there that this board needs to hear about and hear your perspective on. So I would encourage you to continue at that path. And I know it's a lot of work. I think that maybe when you started into this program, it looks simple, but it's actually very complicated and much more involved than I think many, even us, anticipated. But we knew it wasn't a simple come and just sit in here and give your, you know, what your thoughts are on a topic. So I really appreciate all of the energy and work that's going into trying to figure out what is the best way to make this work, and you know, keep doing it. And you know, I hope that Eric, that you run again for the board next year, and that we see this continue to evolve into some really, really great input from our students. So.
Sorry, one thing I did want to clarify on that. When you mentioned me and the other juniors running again.
Yes.
So how the framework currently works, this was decided last year as well with the people who originally started this, Ayush and Neha. We decided that currently, as it stands right now, the board members that were selected that first year will not be running. They will be on that board until their senior year. They will be the ones in charge of making the election for the incoming members. For example, I will be their senior year, but we will be having the election process, that whole selection process for the incoming sophomores who will be serving as junior members. And then those junior members will stay on until their senior year. That's sort of how it goes. Just want to clarify that.
Yeah, no, that sounds really excellent, yeah. Yeah, because I was getting worried that, you put in all this effort and energy this year, and now you're gonna be in some competitive election and maybe, not get selected or something, I don't know. So, but thank you for that clarity.
Can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
So how was it for you to conduct that survey? Did you learn something that you hadn't heard about before or thought of? Like, how did you feel about that?
Personally, I found that it's actually really hard sometimes to get things out to every person. Like for us, I feel like it was fairly easy getting to Mr. Stipp right away and getting it out there, but it took a lot of him emailing a bunch of teachers, making sure they're okay with doing the actual survey, not having all the participation, but of course it's because there's only so many minutes within a day and time for teachers to do all the things, the amazing things they do. And I know it was especially hard for Mattia to get some of these out. And I think it's just really shows how hard it is sometimes to get student voice out there, which is why, especially as someone who's been in this district my entire life, I really, really appreciate this opportunity to be here and represent everybody in the district and the students. So thank you again.
And we're glad you're here.
Yes.
Did you want to add
Oh,
something?
yeah. So when looking through the survey, there's always the occasional, oh yes, school lunches, all that stuff that people talk about. Regardless, that's always going to happen. There's nothing we can do to avoid that. But as I look through the survey, I noticed a lot of things, especially regarding when it comes to students want to talk about teachers, but not feeling confident enough, and not finding the right outlet, or specifically finding the right people to talk to, because that's a lot of work to try finding out. Oh yes, these counselor I want to talk to. I need to schedule a time in my day to make it. I need to schedule, make sure the counselor himself is free and stuff like that. So, like Kristen was saying, it's hard for students to get their voice out there, and that is our role. We want to make sure that student voices get heard by the district, by the Board of Education, and by the rest of both the student body and the teachers, the staff, everybody. So that is our goal for the establishment of this entire council, get student voices out there. And we're going to be working towards that for the rest of our time serving on this council and for whoever comes in the future as well.
That's one thing I liked about your survey. I was reading it, and it seemed like it was an open-ended. Like people were writing. It wasn't like choose your thing. It wasn't multiple choice. It was people were writing. The day's too long, or start early, or
That is
too early start.
That is one of the things that we had debated on before about putting the survey open-ended or putting specific choices. We decided on open-ended because even though it might be more work to shift through it, and that way we actually get a more accurate representation of what students genuinely want for their school careers. Instead of just saying, oh yeah, would you rather us focus on recycling, or rather you focus on school lunches, or school days, stuff like that. Leaving it open-ended really gave us a lot more stuff, specifically when it came to mental health and things like that students need to get heard about by both the district and by teachers and other students.
Thank you.
Awesome.
So thank you very, very much for your time and energy, and I look forward to hearing more and more from this group. So thank you.
Of course.
So our last topic is legislative advocacy and Board of Education update. And we had an extremely busy weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, at our state conference, and going to many different seminars on how to be better board members and how to understand what's going on in different districts around the state. We were very honored to present and had a very successful presentation. Many people in the audience came up after and asked us for our presentation materials and things that we referenced in our talk about engaging a diverse community. And at the same time our presentation was going on, we also had the resolutions at the state level that were being presented and voted on, and we had a resolution that Mr. Rising supported. And if you want to say a few words about that, I think.
Yeah, so essentially all 852 school districts across the state have an option or have an ability to submit resolutions. Only 8 were chosen. we proposed amended position statement, and it reads as follows. The Illinois Association of School Boards shall continue to support the nonpartisan election of school board members at nonpartisan elections. IASB, the Illinois Association of School Boards, strongly believes that school board candidates should not solicit, accept, or receive either a donation or financial contribution from special interest groups, political action committees, or political parties. We presented that in front of all the school boards. It got pulled from the consent agenda. I had to defend our position in front of all the school boards, and it passed. Over 75% of the school boards in attendance passed it. So it is now a position statement of the Illinois Association of School Boards, which was pretty exciting.
Yeah, that was a really big plus for our board, and there was opposition to that resolution, so it did take presenting our case to the delegates that were there, and it was a big successful weekend for us, and I think we're feeling good. We put in a lot of hard work with all of our efforts on the different items we were involved with this weekend, and we had success in each case, and there are people there that come up to us because we're a known entity, a group that's active in pursuing our positions and sharing our successes with the other boards across the state, and it is truly amazing experience to have that expressed towards our group. So I just want to thank everyone.
Yeah.
Every single one of you was involved with that, so.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that when I told you I went to that LUDA roundtable. LUDA is a large unit district association, so it's the largest school districts in the state. And there was probably about 15 of the largest districts there. There were multiple topics discussed, and the person that was organizing it from IASB and who was kind of moderating it, every time she came back to Indian Prairie, and I was there, and they would ask, well, what is Indian Prairie doing? And the districts would always ask, what is Indian Prairie doing? And I'm not saying that to pat ourselves on the back, by no means, because this is years and decades of work that this Board of Education and our district, and frankly, I think why we have such a wonderful district is the things that our Board of Educations now and in the past have always kept the focus on students, and other districts are always interested to hear what we've tried and what we're doing. So that was very reassuring. And that's a compliment to previous boards.
Yeah, I think it would be very simple to just go there and absorb and sponge up all of the information, but our board has actively pursued making sure we're sharing our knowledge and also getting information from others. Since I've been on the board, so coming up on my 6th year this next April, we have had at least one resolution or position statement passed by our board, and that is unheard of, to be frank. And so I just want to encourage our board members to continue that advocacy and sharing our knowledge, and it was truly a valued experience for us and for the people that we talked to there. So thank you. Were there any other items for legislative advocacy or Board of Ed update? No. All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.